how annoying is it when you're at the gas pump and you're going through the process of paying and everything, and then it says, come inside and see cashier?
Oh, yeah, forget it. I'll drive to another
Me too. Me too. I've literally got back into my car and gone to another pump at the same gas station.
Yeah.
Or like if it says like credit card machine broken, come inside. I will just go. Like, how crazy is that?
Not gonna happen.
I'd rather leave than be inconvenienced of having to walk inside and deal with another human being.
Yeah, it's actually been a real problem because we have $100 Wawa gift card and we don't use it. We're like, and we keep getting gas at Wawa and we're like, do you want to use a gift card? Do you want to go in and like?
Can't you use it?
Literally
at the pump?
free gas? No, you can't. We tried it, and they're like, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think you can do it if you like. You might be able to do it if you like sign up for the app and then like add it into the app and then pay with the app.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never used the gas gift card, like a gas place gift card.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure if I could use it. I'm like, do I have to just get like $100 in hoagies or like what do I gotta do with it? But I went in and I was like, can I put 20 on pump 12? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Oh.
And that's also annoying. You gotta say like a specific amount. I wonder if I'm gonna try that. If I can just say like 100 on 20.
And then
will
like,
they give it
if
back?
it runs out, I don't know. That's true. You have to walk back inside and get it back.
And then I gotta like look up the balance of the credit card. This is way too much work, man.
It's way too much.
Might as well have a laundry machine that doesn't tell me when it's done.
Exactly.
Hey, and welcome to the No Kidding Podcast. It's a callback from last episode.
We missed you guys. We missed you so much.
We truly did. We have been just, here lamenting not being a part of your lives because, you're a part of our lives, but not as directly. So we really want to get up in there in your life. Sorry we haven't been around. We'd like to be more part of your lives though. So we would like you to come and tell us more about you, like who is listening and what's your life like, and do you have anything interesting to share? Or maybe we'll put it on the podcast or something. Is that a CTA?
Yes, it is a call to action for sure. Nice try. But if you do want to do that, you could pretty much do it anywhere, but Instagram is probably the easiest because I'll see that first. So, I don't really post so much on there anymore because as you know, it's just, but you want to know something cool that I realized the last time I uploaded a podcast on Anchor?
I do.
They're one of our sponsors, by the way. But before we hop into a sponsored ad, no, but this was really cool because, you know how I've always loved doing polls and things like that, like to get listener feedback and stuff like that. Well, and questions. Like Anchor now has where and I don't know if it's connected with, I know it goes to Spotify, but I don't know about any of the other platforms where you can listen. But so you can put in a poll or a question, and I don't know I haven't tested it yet because it was the first time I ever did it, but I did put a poll about tangerines for our last episode that I uploaded. So, and then I think it pops up on Spotify when you open up the episode. I don't really know. I'm going to have to go over and check it out.
That's so weird. How does it know?
I don't know. But then again, you did have to put like a date, like it starts at this date and it ends at this date, the poll. Yeah. So I don't think it always does it. But actually, I'm going to check right now to see what happens there it is. Yeah. So when I open up the episode, Lewis's Toxic Traits, episode 47.
Okay.
In there, it says Q&A. What did you think about this episode? Reply. So anybody can reply. And poll, do you like nectarines? Yes or no? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I'm the first vote.
What in the world?
I know. It's crazy. So now you can actually interact with us if you listen on Spotify. I don't know if it does it on the other ones, like on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or anything like that. I just knew that it did it on Spotify because when I was putting in the information, it said it was like Spotify was on there. I think Spotify sponsored it, so maybe it's only through Spotify. I don't know.
Yeah, they have this like Garage Pedal, I think that's what they call it, software that like analyzes all of the audio that goes like on their platform. So they probably have like a transcript of everything we talked about and stuff.
Cool. That's awesome. So guys, tell us something about yourself. There is a Q&A. What did you think about this episode? So in that, maybe you could just reply and put something about yourself. Like, tell us actually like who you are and what's
have some
going on.
engagement.
Yeah. But you know, like if you want like a more, because I've never used this application before. I may never see, I don't know where this information goes once somebody replies, but if I do see it, I will reply. If you do it on the Instagram, I definitely will see it and will definitely reply. So at No Kidding Podcast on there. Or you could always email too, it's nokiddingpodcast@gmail.com. There you go.
This is the longest call to action. I'm glad we had all that nonsense in the beginning.
I really want to know who's listening, and I really care about you guys. So I really want to know. Well, I do. Yeah. So tell me something about yourself. Tell me how your day's going. What's your favorite Christmas like treat? Because I'll tell you one thing. I have been really into peppermint stuff lately. I found, the Publix is more of like an East Coast shopping mart.
Yeah, Southeast,
I guess.
U.S.
Yeah. So sorry about this, but Publix Peppermint cookie ice cream was so good.
Oh my gosh.
It is so good. And it's actually, I think it's like marshmallow ice cream. You know how I love my marshmallows.
Yeah. And it's not just in the summertime anymore.
I know, because my favorite ice cream in the summertime is s'mores ice cream. It is so good. Specifically, I used to love Edie's, but they don't love me back because they no longer, I cannot find it anywhere. So I've given up on Edie's. I'm sorry. I've moved over to I think it's Ben & Jerry's. I'm pretty sure it's Ben & Jerry's s'mores. I'm like 90% sure. So good, so good, so good. It's like my favorite. And then now Publix has a peppermint cookie ice cream, but it's made with like marshmallow. I don't know. It's like a vanilla marshmallow base.
Is it like
ice
it's
cream.
Like peppermint bark? I feel like that would make it very like holidays-esque. Like that's a very common treat, right?
It's not really like bark. It's like, so Publix makes a peppermint cookie. It's basically like an Oreo covered in white chocolate, covered in peppermint flakes. It's really good. So they basically took that cookie and crumbled it up and put it into this ice cream. And so it basically tastes like a peppermint Oreo marshmallow ice cream. But actually, you don't really taste the marshmallow. I don't know why. It says it's a marshmallow ice cream, but I think it's just more like vanilla.
You're like, not enough marshmallow for me.
I mean, maybe it is because I love it. I mean, it's like a very delicious ice cream. But I don't specifically taste that taste of a marshmallow, if that makes sense. Like, there's not chunks of marshmallows in it or anything like that. It's mainly just like, it's almost like cookies and cream, but with peppermint in it. Kinda. That's the closest I can say.
I'm really worried.
But anyways, why?
I made what I've been chasing. I make little like mixes for my coffees, and I've been doing them seasonally. And I've been trying to really nail down what I want my winter season coffee to taste like.
Yeah.
And I recently made a mixture, and it's the best ever. And I found it,
yum.
but I don't remember what I put in it.
Oh no, that's the worst.
So I'm like, this is great, but it's like
no.
Now I have like a jug of it, and it's like, this is limited time only, the best ever.
Wow.
I don't even
really
remember
good.
what beans I put in it, because I think it was a mixture of two different ones because I ran out in the middle, and like I poured some in, and then I was like, oh, that's not enough, and then so I poured some other of like an old coffee I had that's unlabeled. So yeah, I'm really messed up here. I know that I added in a little bit of cloves and nutmeg and a broken cinnamon stick in it to give it that like.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'd make cold brew, so.
Nice.
Yeah, so it all just kind of mixes in and is good. A little pinch of salt to bring out the flavor.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see if I can replicate the ratios, and hopefully I didn't put anything else in. I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's hard. So I also found a holiday drink that I love. And here's the thing. I'm not a big Starbucks person. Like, I'm not a subscriber to that whole, like, I have to get Starbucks.
I get the bucks in.
Like, it's really, I only go there for holiday, like, you know, like when they have special things out or whatever.
Yeah.
But just to try them, but I rarely ever love anything. And actually, I am a big Thai drink, like iced chai tea drinker. And so I wish I loved Starbucks chai tea.
I hear your car
I keep saying
is
chai
too.
tea. Chai tea. Their car?
I hear your
What?
car is a big chai tea lover as well.
Oh yeah.
Big chai tea drinker.
It loves to like suck it up down the gear shift. That's its entrance. But I like to just fill it up once in a while. It really gives me some good energy.
And your car as well, apparently.
Yes.
For the uninitiated, she dropped a chai tea in her car.
Yeah, it's a previous episode. Get with it, guys. Just,
I don't even know if that was in the episode, but if it was, watch the last episode.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so I don't normally like their everyday chai tea. I don't love, but for some reason, I was just on their app one day and I was like, look, I don't have time to make myself one, so I'm gonna just go and get one. But I was like, but I don't really like it. Is there any way I can change it to make it a little better? And oh my gosh, like I found the combination of things that make their chai tea just really good. So I used to put oat milk, but I chose coconut milk. Okay, now this obviously makes it way less healthy.
Whoa.
Obviously. So again, I don't go on a regular basis. It's just like once in a while when I want to treat. So coconut milk with cinnamon powder, a pump of pumpkin sauce, and
Pumpkin sauce.
vanilla sweet cream cold foam with spiced apple drizzle.
Wow.
Guys, it is so good.
Guys, I got
so good. You got to try it. I mean, if you're into chai tea, that's like a winning combination. And here's the thing.
Pumpkin sauce?
I don't know, because I've been trying to look it up to try to make it myself. And here's my dilemma. I've been trying to recreate this at my house because I don't want to have to go there. I want to have just like things that I can make from home. And just, like if I want, something nice one day.
Yeah.
So I have the coconut milk, check. I have the cinnamon powder, obviously, check. I've made the spiced apple drizzle. However, it's not a drizzle. I don't know how to get that like syrupy drizzle, like it's just a little bit that you put on top, it's like the topping, but it really makes the drink. Like I taste it every time I take a sip of it at the Starbucks drink. Every time I take a sip, I can taste that. And it's like, it's necessary. Okay. I've tried to recreate it. I get the flavor, like the flavor is there, but the consistency of it is just like this. It's more of like a apple butter. You know what I mean? Like it's thick. It's like, and it's really good on, I've realized it's really good on like, what are those things called? Not crumpets.
Toaster strudels.
No. Not like the crumpets, but the English muffins.
Oh, yeah.
So toast up make the stuff, toast up the English muffin, put a little slab of that on there, and all of the like spiced, because after you make it, you end up with this bowl of chopped up spiced apples that you've drained. So now you have all these apples, which is great because then you can
oh, too bad. I have all this waste that I have to get rid of.
No, like I use it in my oatmeal. I use it on top of my English muffin. It's so, so good. So I highly still recommend making the spiced apple drizzle, even though it's not a drizzle. It's like a clump. And then it just goes straight to the bottom of the cup. And I don't get any benefit from it whatsoever. So I've stopped using it. So anyways, I'm trying to figure out how to recreate this drink from home. I just don't think it's possible. So I think it's just going to have to be a treat that I have once in a while, like, something to look forward to. I guess if I made it at home, it wouldn't be as special, maybe I'll look at it that way.
And also, it's like how they say a sandwich always tastes better if somebody else makes it.
That's true.
If you have to go through all the work to make it, you might be like, could have been better.
That's true. But I do still make my regular iced chai almost every single morning. It's just like a little iced chai, and I still love it. Like it's just basic plain. It's just chai tea with a splash of either oat milk or coconut milk, but depending on what I have on hand. And it's still good. It just doesn't have that like seasonal extra
vibes.
Yeah,
it's not putting you in the right headspace.
Yeah, I mean it's still good. I still love it, but yeah. Anyway, and then also moving on from my other peppermint ice cream situation. I've always loved the Snack Factory pretzels, the peppermint pretzels, not the chocolate ones, but the white chocolate ones.
This is very specific.
Yeah.
You're not just you're not just like white chocolate pretzels are good. You're like Snack Factory, go to the Publix on Curry Ford. And
yeah, I don't know if they have them anywhere else. I assume they do. I mean, it's like a brand that I feel like they would have other places besides just Publix. I don't know. But then also I found this Niagra chocolate peppermint cookie crunch clusters. Now, I was a little hesitant from this because it looked like a lot of chocolate at first. Because I was like, oh, it's like a chocolate cluster. But really, it's just like all this goodness coated in chocolate. So like chocolate is really not like the main winner here. Like it's not the star of this show.
Yeah.
It's worth it. I'm just saying, really good. So those have been my holiday treats this year. So yeah, anyway, you guys, come tell us what your favorite holiday snack or treat that's only out during the holidays.
The limited editions. You love limited editions, which is just like self-harm, really. I feel like I need to give you a hotline.
Well, it is. It is because then they go away and then they may not come back. That's the problem. Like, I'd be fine with it if I knew every single year they would come back. Because it's probably best that way. I almost think it's good to have love limited editions versus other things. Because then you don't eat it all year. You know, like you can limit yourself. You don't get addicted to things.
True.
But if it doesn't come out, then you're just sad again. I've been talking to Mike about this too, because I'm that way with TV shows. I'm that way with like music and books and like different things where I'll love like a series or like, you know, a book series or a treat or a food item that's at a fast food place or anything like that. And then they get rid of it. And I'm always like, I don't understand. It was amazing. What are they doing? What's happening? And he's like, well, obviously not enough people liked it. So
I don't know. Some places people are crazy. I feel like when Pizza Hut in particular, they got rid of that. They had a golden era in which they had a bunch of like they reinvented their pizza like creating app or whatever, the whole process online, and you could pick from like tons of different crusts. You could get like all different kinds of toppings. You could like pick, you know, all the standard ingredients, but there was also I think a few different kinds of sauces as well. And yeah, I remember specifically the balsamic drizzle was like the bomb. Like you could,
that sounds so good. God.
It was there was a boom there where like me and my friends were just getting pizza like all the time. We're like, oh my god. This is what we need. And then, like, just one day, they just took off the menu. They kind of, like, went back to their old ways.
Oh, and my gosh.
Just like, what'd you do? Why? Like,
devastating.
Were people not buying? Like, everyone that I talked to was like, oh, man, yeah, that's so great that they're doing that now. But,
okay, so it's, like, maybe it's just them. And they're like, this is too expensive to keep.
Yeah, I wonder if it was like, just, like, there's not an ROI for that would have been successful. And they were just like, well, sorry, we tried it.
This doesn't really go with our everyday vibe. Is probably they're thinking. They're like, this isn't like our. It
went for a while though. It was like 2 years, and I was like, great. This is the way. I was like, yeah, this is the way Pizza Hut is there. It was like awesome. I was just like balsamic every day. And then just one day they were like, no, we're gonna just have pepperoni again. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, you could buy balsamic
I have
glaze, which I love. Yeah,
I've been making pizza and putting balsamic glaze on it now.
Same.
Like, if you won't give it to me, I'll give it to myself, Pizza Hut.
Exactly.
But as we said earlier, it doesn't taste as good if somebody doesn't make it for you.
Yeah, sometimes they have to marinate, like the certain flavors like have to go together, like or cook together, or you can't just add it later. Yeah, there's, I don't know. It's true. I get that.
I feel like I want a way to catalog recipes that's iterative. I'm just thinking back to my coffee situation and also now making pizzas. But I feel like I never make the same recipe twice. Do you have this? I feel like I write down recipes because I'll be, oh, that was so good. I made that. But then I'm like, but I don't want to make that again. I want to make like the chicken that I made for that and then put it in a bowl now, but with rice instead of a tortilla. And then,
yes.
But now this time I want to use the sauce from this other recipe, and then like use that on this. And then like, I feel like I never end up making the same thing twice. So
yes.
And then now I'm like, what do I write down a fourth recipe and then like, how do I keep all these straight? And then it's like this, and sometimes it's like, this is like that other recipe, but it's with the sauce from the other recipe. And it's like, I wish there was a way to like have versions or evolution. Like I could see like the path of my recipe making.
Yeah. You're going to just have to like have a note, like have notes while you cook.
Yeah.
Like like a voice note or something. Like say, you like this recipe, I'm using this, and then later say, okay, changing it up. I don't know.
Like
But
just
I'm the
little
same
addendums
way.
or something, like little like version 2, version 3.
You're never gonna write it down, so you're gonna have to do like a voice note or something.
I mean, sometimes I write them down, but yeah, then they evolve, and I'm like, oh, that's my old way of making. Like I go to look back at my recipes, and I'm like, oh, I remember when I made it like that. Like it's different now. So it's weird.
That's good. I mean, you're better about like because I think I was gonna say that I'm the same as you, but I feel like you are a true chef in that you're trying to perfect a certain recipe where you're just, like you said, you're evolving from one thing and deciding like, okay, actually this tastes better with this tastes better. And
I think most chefs just make the same thing over and over again. Professionally.
Oh, really?
Professional chefs. Oh. Right? They work in a restaurant and they,
well, I guess that's true.
Or chicken carbonara or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. But you're also trying to like create that dish that
I'm an experimental chef. I'm a true experimental chef.
Yes. And I would say that I'm the same, except that I don't necessarily, I'm not like necessarily looking for that winning combination. I do that though. Like I'll try different things and I'll pull out different things from some. I'm like, that would be good with this. I do that, but the more reason for me doing that is because I just get bored. I don't like to eat the same thing all the time. Or I'll just see something. I'll be like, oh, that could go good together, and I'll put it together. And sometimes it's a total fail, but but Mike hates it because he loves to eat the same thing over and over and over again. And then I'll change it, and he'll like, why did you change it? It was good. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I wanted to try it this way, or I don't know.
Yeah,
and also,
it's like I already made that.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's weird. And also I don't like to plan ahead so much. So I'm kind of a master at making a dish from just like random things in my kitchen. Because I don't like to plan. Thank you. I wonder if that's like partly how we were raised or something, because like just go in the kitchen and try to find something to eat.
Yeah, because there was just random crap.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I wonder if I can make a meal out of macaroni, cheese, mashed potato, flakes, and an old TV dinner.
Right. It's like you kind of think of like the basics. Like you want to have maybe a meat in there, maybe a vegetable, maybe a grain or like, I don't know. But then you're like, okay, yeah, I got like the bare bones. So let me see what I can do. And like I might add some sauce, but I usually do it on the side in case it's like terrible.
Yeah. I recently accidentally made latkes. That's why I kind of brought up the potato flakes. I remember I wanted a breakfast and I kind of wanted pancakes, but I didn't have any stuff for, like, I didn't have flour or something, but I had potato flakes. So I used potato flakes to make kind of like a batter. And then it ended up basically making latkes. Like, have you ever had like the fried potato
yes,
cakes?
Those are so good.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, those are good. I did try to make like kind of like that, but with fried zucchini once. Yeah. It was so liquidy. I really had a hard time drying it out so that it wasn't mushy. But I have always wanted to try the potato cakes because I haven't tried it with like flakes of potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, I would advise doing it the traditional like German way or whatever. But it wasn't bad. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
It wasn't one of my crowning achievements. I'm not about to run out and write a blog like, guys, you'll never believe it.
Yum.
But it was good. It was good on a day when I wanted just a hot little tostada.
That's another thing. Like I do like trying new things. So like if I get in the mood to actually like attempt to make something, I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna look at like ideas and like Pinterest and stuff like that, and I'm gonna maybe like pick two different things and mesh them together or something like that. Like I like
discovery is like one of the funnest parts of
yes but Mike is not like that at all. He's the complete opposite. He's like this like staples that he likes, and he's not experimental very well, so it's difficult because like it's fine to do for myself. But then I'm just cooking for myself, and then there's like you lose kind of a little bit of motivation because
what if only you like it too? Yeah, it's part of the fun is also trying to get somebody else to like it. It's like hey, I made these like weird peanut noodles, and they're like, oh, it's like pad thai but thicker, and I'm like, you don't like it. It's like, oh, it could be a little. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I thought it was good.
Right. And also there's another element is that I, like, even if it's not great, but it's edible, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to eat that. Whereas somebody else would not. They would be like, no, this isn't hit the threshold of being edible to me. Yeah. Whereas to me, my threshold for edible is lower, I think.
Well, also when you make it and like you have the forethought of like, oh, this will taste good together, this will taste good together, even if it comes out looking like a weird brown oatmeal. Yeah. It's like, like the taste profiles, and when you put it in your mouth, you're like, and because you expect something. But like if somebody else is looking at it, they're like, this is a mess, and when I eat it, it's not what I'm wanting it to taste like, so I'm out.
That's true. I probably would feel the same way if somebody else served me something that looked like slop. I'd be like, really? Like, what is that?
Yeah. I feel like sometimes my salads turn out like that because I get too ambitious and I'm just like, I need to put some of this in there. I need to put some of that in there. Ooh, like oatmeal. I don't know. What is that stuff? Not oatmeal. I totally
cream of wheat?
No, it's like, it's not at all like oatmeal. It's like you make trail mix with it.
Trail mix?
Graham cracker? No. Like.
Oh, God. Yes.
Granola. Thank you. You put granola in there. You put some dried fruit. You put some little, whatever, like some like a vinaigrette of some kind that's like fruity. If you're going fruity, you gotta kind of try to trend fruity. Yeah, I feel like I just described the Market Fresh salad from Chick-fil-A.
It's the best salad, is it not? I love that salad.
Have we talked about that as well?
I'm sure we have. I think we have very similar taste profiles.
Yeah, we deem that the official the salad of the No Kidding podcast.
Yeah, so good. Yum.
It's the best on Sundays.
Makes some good ones too. Oh yeah, for sure. You gotta go on a Sunday.
You gotta get it on a Sunday. If you don't get it on a Sunday, it just doesn't taste right.
It's just not the same. That's funny. I have definitely thrown things out, but it's very rare because even if it's like really bad, I'll feel bad throwing it away. I'll be like, I spent so much money on the ingredients, or like, this food can't go to waste. Like, I hate wasting food. So that's the downside, is like, if it turns out terrible, I feel like I still have to eat it.
It's a double lose, because as you're throwing it away, you're like, I worked so hard.
I know. I mean, some things just aren't edible. Like it does not turn out the same. I don't know. Like I'm really bad at multitasking. I don't know. I'm sure we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. I think I have a real problem, and I was actually just talking to Mike about this the other day. I forget why, but it's because we were watching a dog, and I was telling him that I find it really difficult to begin a project of any kind when I have another responsibility, like a dog. Like if I know, basically because I know if I'm going to get interrupted at any point after I've started a project, it really throws me off. Like I have a really difficult time restarting. I have a really difficult time like focusing on it.
Same.
And so, like multitasking for me is almost impossible. Like,
and if it also makes it really hard to do like teamwork.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're ever working, like if it's a dynamic thing, it's like, oh yeah, you do this part of the recipe, I do this part of the recipe. It's like, I can't, I need everything.
I need full control.
My purview. Yeah.
Yes. I need full control. That's true. Yeah. I'm like that. And it's a problem because, like, for example, if I'm working out and like someone like Mike comes in the room and starts talking to me, or I get a phone call, like an important phone call that I have to stop and like talk, like whatever, that workout's over. Like I cannot restart. I can't pause and just start again. I can't carry on a conversation while I'm working out. Yeah. It's not going to happen. And the same goes with like anything else. Like I'm watching a TV show, and let's say I get a text message and I start texting back or something. I have to rewind that show. I've missed everything that's happened because I don't know. And I feel like it's a problem. I feel like it's, I don't know, because it prevents me from starting things, because I have this anticipation, like if I start and I get interrupted, it's just not going to work anyway. So I might as well just not start. And I don't know. So
yeah, if there's anything interrupting in the middle of it, it's like the whole thing wasn't worth it.
I feel like I need help with that. Like I need.
You're like, I need help.
There's
a cry for help.
There's got to be some kind of fix to that, like how to become a better multitasker. I don't know. Even though like nowadays everybody's saying stop being a multitasker, only get involved in one thing at a time. I'm like, that's all I can do. So, but it's not good, especially in this day and age where you kind of need to multitask.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like now more than ever, things have become so segmented.
Yeah.
You can't just take a day to do anything. That's crazy.
Right. I know. So, but when I do something and I'm not interrupted, I get so much done. And I get really...
Deep work.
Deep work. I'm a deep worker.
Deep work is the best work. Yeah, I feel like I've... I don't know. I kind of thought that I had developed that around video games because I don't know. It's just like when I was young, like being able to block out everything and like really focus on a game and like play it all the way through or something in one sitting. It's like I felt like that wired my brain in some way to like be like, okay, well that's how tasks are done. You just have to like block out 5 hours to literally do everything like about it, like make the best version of it possible in 5 hours. But it sounds like you were afflicted of it too, so I wonder if it's genetic or the way you were raised or something.
I mean, I hate to throw around the like, you know, craziness, but I do feel like it is partly genetic and partly, I don't know if it's necessarily, I do think it's genetic, but I also think partly on how you're raised too, like, but you're raised based off of the genetics of the family. So, you know, I think it's all involved.
Inseparable.
Yeah. But just like not really having been raised on routine and consistency and like, you know, like, which can be very helpful in a lot of ways. Cause I feel like I am able to adapt well. Like if a situation changes rapidly, I'm like, okay, that we're changing. This is a new situation.
Yeah.
Whatever, but I'm definitely not going back to the other situation. Like that's over, like for me. But like if the situation changes, I'm like, okay, well now we're in this situation now. So it's helpful, but when it comes to actually tasks and completing tasks and doing tasks, I feel like
can't do it.
Yeah, like I think maybe it wasn't beneficial, but you know.
You ever feel like a grenade? Like you just got to pull the pin and throw yourself into a situation.
Oh yeah.
Do it all at once and then never come back to that again.
Yeah. There's so many. I have so many unfinished projects. So many, and I mean,
yeah.
Gosh,
I watched a
annoying.
really interesting video by Zach Friedman about finishing your projects. I feel like there are a lot of videos out there for differently minded people, but I think he had some really good points in there about just like really committing to it. And one of the best things that I've found is like, even though it creates a huge barrier to entry, but that's good because if you don't get started, then you're not going to have a half-finished project. But obviously, you want to be able to get started. But he advises like doing the boring stuff first, because he's like, because everybody always wants to do the fun stuff first, and then that leaves all of the boring stuff for the last part. So all you have left to do to finish the project is a bunch of like really boring, like awful stuff, and like people that want to do projects don't realize like that's the project. Like that's the doing of the stuff is like all that boring stuff. I would agree with
that. Yeah, definitely. I feel that way about eating too. Like when I was always a really good eater, like a lot of kids, they get in trouble for like not eating whatever. And it's changed now where I don't think parents put as much pressure on children to finish their food and like eat everything and whatever. But growing up, it was definitely like you were finishing your plate. Like that's gonna happen. There's
it's like we built you a meal and you're gonna eat it.
Like you're eating this. So, and you know, a lot of kids would like,
or we went to the steakhouse and I'm not wasting this money.
Exactly, something. Yeah. So it's like you had to eat it.
Yeah.
And I learned pretty quickly, like, okay, this is something that has to happen. So I would always eat the bad stuff first. I would always eat like the stuff I hated immediately, and then I would eat all of the good stuff last, because I was like, I knew that if I eat that, I could always just like, the last thing I tasted would be good. But like a lot of the other kids would eat all the good stuff first, and then they'd cry for the next hour about having to eat the bad stuff.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta eat this broccoli. They're like, no. And then the worst is like they'll put it in their mouth and they'll chew it like twice, and then they'll just start like whimpering, and then like, don't spit it out. And so they're just sitting there like with a full mouth full of broccoli, like weeping over how gross it is, and they won't swallow it. And I'm just like, you're doing this to yourself. Exactly.
It's like, and then here I am like done with my meal and getting up and going and playing, and they're all still at the table like, wah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry guys.
Oh, sorry. Are you a bad kid?
No. Anyway, but that's also good though. It's a good thing to transfer it to tasks. You're right, like doing the boring stuff first, get it over with, so that you actually get more motivated as you go, because you know you're getting closer to the good stuff.
I think that mentality is called "eat the frog." I forget who it was. It was have we talked about it? I feel like everything's so cyclical, but
I know.
Yeah, I think
well,
I think there was there was an old dude. You know how there's old dudes. And always. One of them had the philosophy that you eat the frog. Like, you wake up in the morning and do the hardest task of your day first. And that makes the rest of it easier. But
you know, I wonder if that's like why highly successful people do wake up like super early and do like hardcore workouts in the morning. Because it's like they get it over with. Yeah,
probably. But then I feel like that could be part of that like bias where it's like, oh, well, see, that's the successful way to do things. And it's like, maybe successful people just like are that way. It's just kind of hard to like... for someone that's not that way, be like, and also like quote unquote successful, like the kind of people that you'd say, make a lot of money or whatever, but they might not be happy in other parts of their life.
Right.
So like, it depends on what you consider success.
That's so true. That's so true. I mean, I guess I was thinking like type A people who are like structured and routine on like everything they do. And so, yeah, they like build this routine of like, this is what I got to do today, and then they get so much done in a day.
They get up, they run, and they come home and they clean their whole house, and then
they might not be happy. They might
take a shower, and then they read a book, and then they go to work because it's 8 a.m.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know, but I have tried to do the early morning workouts, and I'm just not. I'm a slow beginner. You know, I wouldn't say, it's weird because people say, oh, you're either a morning person or a night person. I don't think that's true, because I'm somewhere in the middle, because I don't necessarily hate getting up early, but if I do get up early, I hate being rushed. Like, I like to slowly start my day, whereas like Mike, for example, he will sleep until the very last moment, and then he will get up, get dressed, and get out the door. Like that. That to me is so anxiety inducing. I would be like, no, I have to wake up at least 30 minutes before I leave, if not an hour, so that I can wake up, I can get up and do whatever. I can do some yoga. I can drink my chai tea. I can and then I'm ready to go for the day. Yeah, I got to make it. It's really easy. It's just pour it in a glass. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, that's probably alleviated a lot by working from home, where I can be like, okay, I'm going to like wake up 10 minutes before I'm quote unquote working, but like I'm going to sip on my coffee, just like read my email, and like still be in my pajamas. Like, not really.
Yeah. That definitely helps. Really. Yeah, that definitely helps. But I was going to say, I'm not necessarily, what am I trying to say? I'm not a night owl in the sense that like, I don't need to stay up late, and I will get really tired and want to go to bed early some nights, and some nights I'll like staying up later. But what was I going to say? Just like I'm not one or the other. I kind of like to do both. It just depends on as long as I get 8 hours of sleep, I'm good. However, whatever time I wake up or go to bed.
My average right now is 6 hours of sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of low.
You're like, that's a little low. My phone, I've been using Sleep for Android. And it's a really cool app. It's got a really weird UI design, but it's nice, I guess. But it has a lot of cool features, and one of them is by default, it will look at your next alarm and say like, hey, your next alarm goes off in 8 hours, so now would be your bedtime, just so you know.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. And so I'm always like, whenever I see that, I'm like, okay, so I got to go to bed in like at least 2 hours. I don't want to drive down my average. No,
of course not.
I'm never like, oh, bedtime. Let me go to bed.
But I will say that like I do love being awake when most of the rest of the world is asleep.
Yeah,
or
that's
like most of the other like. Yeah,
I love driving around at like 4 a.m. and there's like nobody on the streets.
Yes,
like you're at like one of the busiest streets in Orlando, and it's just like you can like literally hear the like of the lights, like the traffic lights changing, and I'm like,
oh,
that's
best.
so great.
It really is.
Especially
I
after
kind
a
of
fresh
envy
rain.
people. Yes. Roll the windows down, smell that rain. Oh, that's so good. That's another thing we have in common. We both love rain, and we love like that. Like today was a really like moody, cloudy,
that's
like
great.
just misty day. It was great. Yeah,
I love it. Florida's the wrong place. There's plenty of rain, but it's not usually like misty and overcast.
Right. Yeah.
It'll just like rain while being bright as hell out and continue to be sunny after it's done raining.
Yeah, it's true. This is true.
It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah. But
I'm reminded of that Bill Wirtz video where he's like, the sun is a deadly laser. And I feel that way all the time. Maybe that's why I want to go out at 4 a.m. as well. That's another great part about being out at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
The sun
I love like the first, like right when the sun is starting to come up too, like going on walks then, because it's still so cool outside. Like it's not too hot. And there's always like a fog. Not always, but a lot of times there's like this foggy feeling, and it's very just I don't know. It's like you're in a storybook or something. It's very, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but mystical. Yeah, like I was thinking ominous, but
atmospheric in a positive way.
In a positive way. I typically only get up like that early to walk when the dogs are here, because the dogs like to get up that early and walk. And so I'm like, okay.
They force you.
Yeah, but at first I'm kind of like really annoyed. But then once I'm out there, I'm like, dang, this is nice.
You're like, you know what? You guys were right. You guys were right.
Yeah,
this is nice.
Thank you for getting me up and out. No, ominous is like the complete opposite of what I meant.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said atmospheric. I think that would be more on the nose of what you're talking about.
Yes.
You excited for Dwarf Fortress?
No, I have no idea what that is.
Dwarf Fortress just came out. Come on, Lisa. This is the time. Dwarf Fortress? It's only the deepest video game of all time. I've actually really held off playing it because I know that I would love it, and so far it's been it's been perpetually in development. So I think it's been being developed for 20 years. It's one of those really old games that's always been around and always been like kind of in a beta. Sort of like Minecraft, but Minecraft at least finally came out. They had so it was originally a game that was all just like characters on a grid. So it was like a bunch of like ASCII characters, like it's essentially if somebody made a video game in a spreadsheet. It's like they were like, okay, this G tile means grass, and they would like color it green just to like, make it more obvious that it was grass. And then they would be like, okay, R is rock and it's gray. And then it's like, so the whole game was played on the basis of this grid. And
is it like super basic?
It's super basic in that sense, in like the graphical sense of like, okay, you go and you do this, but behind, like underneath, it's like super in depth. Like there's so many different like little systems, and like before you even start the game, it generates like 500 years of history about the world and like figures out like how kingdoms rose and fell and how different people like lineage did this and that. And then like at the point at which you come into the scene, like you start off in like, some area of the map with a couple of dwarves, and then you like, basically it's like you control your dwarves by telling them to go like dig a mine or something, and build a fortress or whatever. So they then go off and do that, and then you can tell them like, to be able to continue to do that, they might need resources to like say build beds so that they could comfortably sleep. So you have them go chop wood, and then, all this different stuff like to like build up and, create little adventures and stuff for them. And it's just interesting because there's so many little tiny systems that are interwoven in between each other. Like, the dwarves will have like psychology behind them. Like different dwarves are like prone to wanting to do different things, and they're prone to wanting to work with certain people and like not deal with the way that other people do other things, and like different activities that happen throughout their day can affect like how they're feeling and like what they want to do. And I ended up seeing a interview with the creator that it was really funny. I forget the exact bug, but he was talking about a bug that they had where because of the complexity of the game, this bug just came out of nowhere that they never expected. And it was basically that I think it was something that like they introduced beer into the game, and then suddenly all the cats were drunk, and they were like, "What the heck? Like what?
Yeah,
like
what the heck?"
All of a sudden, they're like all the cats in the game are drunk, and so they're like, "What's happening?" And it's basically like every time you would build a barrel, like I forget what it was. I think like something about what the barrel was made out of would attract mice to it. And then they would like eventually like get into the barrel and drink the beer, and then they would get drunk and then like full of alcohol, and then the cats would go hunt the mice and eat the mice and become drunk too.
Hello, Andrew from the future here. I sort of butchered this explanation of Dwarf Fortress, so if you actually want to go get good information about it, you should go watch the interview with the creator. It was No Clip was the interview I was thinking of. However, that actually leaves out the story that I was talking about. The best video I could find about that bug, a great way to illustrate the complexity of Dwarf Fortress, is by Eurogamer in his series Here's a Thing. So go watch Why Dwarf Fortress Started Killing Cats on YouTube. Interesting watch. Only 10 minutes. Give it a go. 20 minutes for the no-clip interview.
And it was just like this crazy situation of like knock-on effects because they created like a really complex system that just all interwove and like ran into each other and created this kind of like insane scenario.
Wow. How do you even keep track of all of that? That seems very complex. It seems simple. I mean, simple in the sense that, like you said, the graphics and stuff, but very complicated in knowing what's what. Do you have like a map or something? Like, how do you keep track of?
Could you imagine like trying to debug that and like be the developer of the game and like trying to figure out like how systems are interacting? Yeah, it's wild. But from the player's perspective, that was obviously a bug. They ended up like patching that out because cats aren't really drunk all the time in real life. But from the player's perspective, it's a grid, like I said, like with a bunch of like letters and stuff basically denoting what you're looking at, and then you basically control the height of the plane that you're looking at. So as dwarves dig down, like they go down layers, and then you hit a button and basically it slices the world at a different layer, right? So you zoom down through the earth or back up through the earth by like hitting a key, and then so you're always looking at like a flat plane of just like it's as if you got a cross section of the earth on that plane. If you can imagine that, but all made out of characters, like ASCII characters. So I was like, I don't want to get into this because I know I'm going to get I want to get really into it or like try and figure out how the systems all interact and all that kind of stuff. And it looks super interesting. But at the same time, like it obviously has really crappy graphics and I feel like a really, really steep learning curve, because it has all this crazy stuff going on. So I was like, I'm just going to do myself a favor and I'm going to wait till they come out with like the graphical, like real game, quote unquote game version. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. So they just released it and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I'm not ready. I gotta now clear out a whole bunch of time to figure out how to play Dwarf Fortress. Because
it's like now you've committed.
Yeah, it's been like 5 years that I've been like, yeah, I'll play that when it's probably about to come out any minute. And it finally did. So that's cool. Check out Dwarf Fortress.
Well, I was looking at it on Steam and it looks, I don't know, like it just looks very, I mean, I guess like the gameplay itself, like once you start playing, it gets interesting because of all these different aspects and everything. But looking at it, it just looks so boring. Yeah,
honestly, that's kind of like the whole thing of it is that though it just seems like the most like straightforward kind of like boring game. And like imagine before when you should look up versions of it before Steam. Like it is literally just like a grid of characters that you play. You quote unquote play.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's I think it's a game that's always just kind of begged players to use their own imagination, like because a lot of it is like they create a lot of these systems and how, like for example, I was saying one dwarf might not like working with another dwarf, and you know they might go to the bar one day and get really drunk together, and they both like that activity of getting drunk, and then so that makes them like less hostile towards each other, and then that might happen again in the future because they had so much fun last time, because like they'll revisit like favorite activities or whatever, and they might both end up at the bar together again and they eventually become friends. And this quote unquote friends, basically it's just a bunch of systems interacting with each other where it's like this dwarf likes activity drinking beer, this other dwarf likes activity drinking beer. They don't like each other, but they keep liking this activity, and whenever they do this activity they increase affinity for anyone around them, and so they eventually become friends, even though they never built in explicitly a system for two dwarves to become friends. But it's just like in the same way that like human psychology is complex, like they've built the complexity there for that to happen in the game, and none of it's scripted, none of it really has a narrative. Like, there's no real story behind it, but it just kind of, like, creates a world for the player to observe and kind of watch a natural story and emergent behavior, like, unfold before them. And they can kind of, like, weave into it their own idea of what the story and what is going on is. Like, they might, like, somebody might become really invested watching that happen and be like, oh my god, they're becoming friends. This is so cool. They're hanging out at the bar again. They used to hate each other, and now there's, like, this huge turn of events. But, like, even though there's not really a story there, like it's just kind of like fun little like emergent behavior sort of stuff. But
yeah,
it's kind of fascinating. It's one of those games that's like I feel like it's the precursor to what games will be, where you know, as like VR and stuff becomes more popular and procedural generated games become more popular, we're eventually going to create kind of like a reality sim, and then there's, you know, we might build like what we consider actual games inside that, which are like, you know, fun activities that really easily capture our imagination. But I think we kind of overlook the like background tapestry of what we might end up developing just as like okay, we're going to build kind of like a virtual world for people to be in. And that could be really fascinating if it's populated by like, these aren't even AI. They're just like complex little like characters that you're already seeing, like even without real artificial intelligence, emergent behavior that looks and acts almost like life. And so like once you apply that with actual like machines that are better at thinking and better at acting like real creatures, like actually putting in quote unquote real AI, you know, you'll start to see, I think, some really fascinating things. And this is kind of like the first glimpse into that.
Yeah, that's really crazy. Yeah. So whoever developed this must
There's two guys, two brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. They must have like, I don't know, like how do you even, I mean, obviously you've learned a lot from going to school and stuff, and like obviously your experience is now working, but how do you even get into this world of developing characters and stuff like that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
programming
like
that.
It's
like,
a very different kind of game too. It's not like your traditional thing, like especially with the way that they were originally, because they were straight up like, we're not artists, so that's kind of like why they made the game so basic from a graphical perspective.
Right.
And even in the Steam version you're seeing there, they a lot of those assets, almost I think all of them pretty much, were generated by a third-party company that they just outsourced, like, draw me a picture of a minecart or something, you know? So, yeah, it's interesting.
I wonder if Mike would like this game. It seems like something he would like. But
I have a feeling he knows about it. It's kind of it's like one of those underground famous games. It's like it's like a very indie, like, I don't think a lot of people have played it, but a lot of people know about it just because it's like so weird and like so different from what like normal games are.
Interesting.
And also it's influenced a lot of other games. Like a lot of, you'll see in like promotional materials or like interviews with game developers and stuff, like they're like, oh yeah, and like, you know, we took some inspiration from Dwarf Fortress, or they'll like I've seen some RPGs kind of self-describe as like one part action FPS shooter, one part Dwarf Fortress. Like I think it's one of those things that's kind of like they're kind of the holy grail of one very specific, hard to attain goal, which is like sort of realistic background noise, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It's so weird. Yeah. I guess you'll have to update us after you play it for a little while.
Yeah. I remember there was kind of a similar game called, what's it called? RimWorld. It's very similar. It's like, it's a top-down sort of thing, and you play a group of survivors that survived like shipwreck. And it's kind of similar. They have like, the developer built in like some like psychology and stuff into the players or into the characters and stuff, and it's kind of like sort of basic survival sim. But
cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. I want to try it out, but it's got a very steep learning curve. It's often described as a learning cliff. It's one of those games that's just like this is actually the first time in this Steam release that they've ever had a tutorial in the game, so hopefully it's good enough to at least get me somewhere worth talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That kind of reminds me of like me trying to learn skateboarding and snowboarding.
Oh yeah.
A steep curve.
Learning cliff.
A learning cliff was more like it. Yeah. And I don't know. Again, like I don't know if it's because I'm older, if it's just harder to learn new things, but it was harder than I thought it was going to be. Is all I have to say about that. It was like, sheesh. Yeah. I mean, I only went a few times because the second time that I went, I fell so hard. This is snowboarding. When I was in Colorado, you know, that infamous trip that I haven't spoken about.
Oh, okay. Are we going to hear about Colorado? Let's go.
No, I mean, we're just going to hear about the snowboarding portion of it. So I went 2 times. And on the second time I went, I think it was the second time I went, I fell like pretty hard backwards. So I landed like on my back, but I stopped myself with my arms. So I reached my arms back and stopped myself. So I hurt my wrists pretty bad. And then I also fell back and hit my head really hard.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was like a terrible crash. I was like, dang it. Yeah, I was not expecting that. And
you were wearing a helmet though, right?
I was. Yeah. Okay. And I didn't have any like symptoms of like concussion or anything at the time. And
well, that's good. At the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'll explain that in a second. So,
oh boy.
But so because of that, like my wrists were hurting so bad. I was more concerned about my wrists because I had sprained my wrist on like really badly on one of our previous trips, which I've talked about on here. It was when we were bike riding in the mountains, and I fell down a mountain. And
it's not a vacation until you've wiped out.
Exactly. Like apparently this has become my new normal. I never used to get hurt ever, and like especially on vacation.
Now that you're an extreme sports enthusiast.
Right. Because that's the price you pay.
Biking from bears and snowboarding on black diamonds, I assume.
Yes. Well, so there was this guy there that was teaching us how to snowboard. Not like teaching us, but he was like we've never been on any kind of snow. Okay. We've never, I mean, I personally have never, I guess Tim had one. He had some experience learning skiing once, a long time ago. I've never been on snow. Caleb had never been on snow. As far as like doing an activity on snow. And but Tim was like, let's just like, we're not going to do the lesson part. We're just going to skip that part and just get on the hill and try. So I was like,
a lesson? Lessons are for nerds.
Well, right. And so like, well, he was thinking like, well, we're getting on like the bunny slope, so to speak. I mean, it was like the smaller of, it was like the learning mountain. I mean, it's still a steep mountain. Okay. It was pretty high. It was like, I don't know, I can't even tell you, but it wasn't like just a little bump. It was like an actual mountain. Okay. So like you had to take a ski lift to get to the top. So,
oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, so we get there and I'm like, how hard can it really be? I've seen so many people do it. It looks so easy. Not that I never thought it was going to be easy, but I thought, like it would take a few times and then I'd get it. And I did get better. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't get better, but I'm just saying Yeah, I don't know if that was the best. I had zero idea what I was doing. Anyway, there was a guy on the mountain who clearly saw that we were struggling, and he's like, "Hey, I know how to snowboard.
Hey, you need help.
Why don't you try doing it this way? Why don't you try this?" But so that's when I fell, and I feel like
it's his fault.
No, not that it was his fault. Not that it was his fault, but that I was kind of just letting my body tell me how to move, I guess, at first.
Yeah.
But then when I started listening to his instruction, I got too much in my head, I think, trying to follow the direction, that I stopped paying attention to how my body was moving versus getting the technique right, I guess.
Yeah.
And so anyways, he was totally right. I mean, he wasn't telling me anything wrong. It was just that, just changed the way my brain was working. So I fell. And then, then after that, I took a long break because I was really worried, because I'd already sprained my wrist once, and now I sprained it again. And I'm like, if I fall again, I could break it, I was kind of worried about that. So anyways, I ended up, having a long talk with myself, and I was like, look, if you break it, you break it. You're not going to get another chance to snowboard for a really long time. You really want to try. You've been wanting to try for so long. I was devastated, because I was I really wanted to learn, and I really had been wanting to try it for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is your chance. Get up there and just do it. If you break it, you break it. What's the worst? It heals, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go again. So I did go again, and I actually did decently, and it was fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it was a steeper learning curve than I thought. And I think if I had had some actual instruction first before I got up there, I might have done a little bit better. I feel being thrown off the deep end. That's kind of our family's way, though. It's just do it. We've always been everyone's kind of just do it. Get in the pool, swim, that kind of thing.
Push them out the nest.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the way. And I think I did learn something from that. But I think, I might need lesson. But anyway, so later on, it was a couple days later, I did end up getting really bad vertigo and dizziness, and it was for 24 hours straight. I was so dizzy, and so I was nauseous, and it was so bad. And I was realizing that I had this happen a long time ago. And Mom has this happen a lot, where the crystals in your ears get displaced, and it kind of just throws off your equilibrium, and it's a condition.
Every time you say that, it sounds like nonsense, but yeah, I looked.
But it's true. It's a real thing. I promise. But if you're prone to that, if they said that if you do get if you hit your head hard enough, that could loosen the crystals, and then over time they can displace easier. So I think that's what happened. I think when I hit my head, it kind of dislodged something, and just over the next couple of days, it got loose, because I wasn't doing anything when the initial dizziness started. I was just eating dinner, and then I finished dinner, and it was almost immediate. It was I suddenly was just so dizzy, and then it just progressively got worse and worse.
Man.
So anyways, it did get fixed. I had to do all the regular exercises and stuff. There are exercises to help put the crystals back where they're supposed to go. And I will honestly say, even today, even now, this is many, many weeks later, I still don't feel 100%. I feel
wow.
I'm just I don't know, just if I close my eyes and I try to walk, before, I wouldn't really have that big of an issue, but I do feel I'm a little uneven still. So I don't know if I still need to do those exercises, maybe. Maybe I should just keep doing them. But I'm also worried that if I do them, it's going to just make it come out again.
Right.
But I don't know if that's a real thing. I don't know if that would happen. But anyway, so that was my Colorado snowboarding problem. But the rest of the trip was incredible. It was the best. Especially beginning to holiday trip, because It was snowing, and all the snow was perfect. It was the white blanket of snow. It was fresh snow. It was powdery snow. It was the right temperature. The weather was great. It was I don't know. It was just perfect. And we went on a couple hikes. And the hikes
You
were
make
just
me love
so
it. I was
beautiful.
supposed to go next month.
To Colorado?
Yeah,
Really?
I was.
Oh, but you're not going because you're back?
For those of you that don't know, I'm laying out right now. I have my chair fully reclined, trying to recover from my,
yeah.
I don't know, slipped disc or something.
It's
but
terrible.
yeah, so I was going to go snowboarding, so
Oh,
probably
no,
shouldn't
sorry.
do that.
No, oh my gosh. Have you ever done that before?
No.
Have you ever done any? Okay, so yeah, that probably would have.
So I'm definitely going to eat
no.
gravel or eat snow a few times.
Wow, that's so cool. Were you going to do that with work?
Nah, that was just...
Oh, just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, some people from work, but mostly
okay.
not. Not like sponsored work trip to go snowboarding. That would be
Well,
wild.
something to look forward to then, I guess, in the future.
Yeah, someday. Too bad.
Yeah, but I recommend if you do go, take a class. I mean, it's more expensive.
Take a class.
It's
have some
definitely more expensive.
wrist braces.
Yeah, I would definitely bring mine. But yeah, oh man, that sucks. And now here I am talking about it, being like, haha.
Yeah.
No.
You're such a jerk.
But it wasn't the best experience. But I still had a lot of fun. I don't want to say like
yeah, that's cool.
that it was bad because it wasn't. It was really nice. And Colorado was really nice. Like I'm really happy that we went. But I was gonna say something else about that. I don't know, just like there was a lot of things that went wrong on the trip. Like a lot of things were closed. A lot of things that we had planned on doing got canceled, or like there's a lot of mishaps and stuff. Like we ended up not doing pretty much almost all of the things that we had planned on doing. But we just made, like we're again pretty adaptable to change. So we made the most of like every day, and we still found so many amazing things to do and have fun doing. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was still fun, but I just wanted, like, I know people talk about their trips sometimes and you're like, oh, you're like, everything goes so great and everything's perfect, but it wasn't. Like, obviously there were so many things. Like
yeah,
even traveling.
To burst your bubble.
Yeah, like even traveling, like every flight that we took, there was a screaming baby like right next to us. And props to parents who manage that, because I'm sure as parents it's even harder because they're like mortified, or like they're like, oh my gosh, please stop crying. Like they know that they're being the like everybody hates you right now.
But what do you do?
But what do you do? All right. So, but it was just like constant crying and screaming, and it's like, and if you don't have headphones, I'm sorry.
I wonder if they can make a safe, like soundproof capsule for babies.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess soundproof would also mean airproof. So
probably, yeah. I don't know what the solution is there. Like there was one plane that we went on that was like, I think they tried to keep all of the kids in the back of the plane and like keep, like if there was a child, it was like you have to sit in the back of the plane. Mm-hmm. But I was with a child, so I was also in the back of the plane. So, yeah, didn't help me much, but
darn.
But yeah, no. I mean, like traveling is great, but there's always that downside to it. There's always things that go wrong.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things where it's kind of hard. I feel like my wife, to a certain degree, just gets anxious about travel and stuff, which is like totally understandable. But it's just a downer to, if somebody's like getting really anxious about travel and stuff, because it's like, man, you're like our mom's that way. And it's just like, man, like we are going to do something fun, but it's just like the surrounding, it's like a blocking thing. It's like bookended by 2 instances of like
negativity.
This really unpleasant, kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult though, because I mean, it's usually a well-learned behavior, because stuff always seems to go wrong at some point during travel. You're always going to have like some awkward transition between planes, or a tire blowout on the highway or something,
or your car getting broken into, or something. Yeah.
Yep.
You never know.
When I was going to propose to my wife, like originally, like we're going on that trip. We were rented a rental car and we were like headed that way. And then like just as soon as we got on the road, I say as soon as because it's a like 12-hour plus trip driving. Then we got to Gainesville, so that's like 2 hours away from Orlando, and our tire blew out. And we had our dog in the car and everything. And it was just like this whole thing where we're just like, what do we do? Like, it was in the middle of the night at that point because we left like right after work. We had to find like what was it? Like a La Quinta or a Quality Inn or something. I think it was a La Quinta because they're dog friendly. So yeah, that was fun. And just like pulling over, like switching out to the, the donut and like going over. And then she's like, do we even like... She's like, the trip's kind of ruined at this point, right? Do we even want to do it? And I'm like, I kind of want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't let something like that hold you back.
Yeah, but it's just like one of those, you have one of those moments where you're just like, this sucks. I'm done. It's
a bad omen for the rest of the trip or something.
Exactly. I'm like, well, I hope not.
I know. Like, yeah, you can't think that way because then it will like self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. Yeah, Mike's like that too. Like, he gets anxious to travel, and so he doesn't go very often. And the few times we have traveled, it's like, yeah, those little annoyances can really get to some people, and like really it kind of changes the dynamic of the trip. So I think that's good that like we have that ability. I think probably because how we were raised too, like how we grew up, I guess, just to kind of like, you gotta just like keep a good mindset and just keep switching with the, what comes at you. Just like adapt a little bit because nothing stays the same. That's how I always think of it. It's like, this is bad, but nothing stays the same. So pretty soon it's going to turn around. It's going to be good. Something's going to come from it. And a lot of times, at least on our travels, when things go wrong, it opens up another opportunity to do something that we wouldn't thought of to do that we actually end up really liking. Like, our trip to New England and all that area, where our flight got canceled and we had to actually like figure out how to find a new flight and like book that flight. And then that flight got delayed. It was like this whole thing. It was our flight home. So we ended up having to stay.
Was that when the hurricane was happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we ended up having to stay later, and it just kind of like threw everything off. But
have you seen that Tom Hanks movie? Because we got to stay
later.
Terminal?
Which one? Oh, yeah.
Was that you?
I've seen that. No, because we weren't stuck in the terminal. We booked, like, I don't know, somehow we ended up with, like, a few extra hours before we had to be at the airport. Mm-hmm. We were at the airport. We were stuck at the airport for a long time. Not quite like that long, but
yeah.
But anyway, we got to go on an extra hike because we had time. And it was, like, a random hike that we never even, like, knew about until... We were just hanging around. We're like, well, what can we do? And we looked for a hike, and we found a hike. And it was like this really cool hike. It was like basically the hike itself was really fun. But at the end, there was this like random cave with this waterfall that's coming over the cave. And inside the cave is this like eternal flame. So it's like fire. Yeah, it was like really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, it is like, I always wish that we could do like extended stays at certain, like, I think like companies should do more often where they have like a work from anywhere program or something. Like,
yes,
I think I could do that, but it would be difficult for my wife. Like, she also has a work from home job, but she just has various things just occasionally throughout the week that she might have to do like in person, like just for a moment, like meet a client or go into the office or something. So I wish they would like do a thing where it's like, it's not really time off, but like we're not gonna have any in-person stuff scheduled for you, so you can like go and I don't know, like just like rent an apartment like somewhere for a month and just kind of like work and live from a different place, because I feel like there's just so much that needs to be explored in not like a rushed itinerary kind of way in like a lot of cities, or not even cities, but anywhere like out in anywhere you'd want to vacation, like spending a lot of time to really just like experience the place,
Right. Yeah. So there's a girl that I know that I've spoken to about this because for my job, well, she's a speech therapist, but it's the same like, area of practice. So, and she does that. Like she and her, I think it's her husband. It's either her husband or her boyfriend, but they're like long-term partners, kind of like Mike and I are. And, but he also has a job where he can work remote so that it works for them. But Mike obviously can't. But anyways, so I was considering this because she does that. She's a traveling speech therapist, and she basically like goes to, she picks a place where she wants to travel to or vacation to or like whatever. And then she's with this program, she just signs up for like temporary therapy for like, say somebody's on maternity leave or somebody's like whatever. And she goes there and she'll work with like this, like kids in that area for a couple weeks. It could be like a week to a month or whatever. And then when they're done, she goes to a new place and then she stays there and she works from there for a while. And she gets the nights and weekends to like travel or like explore the area and do the hikes and do all of that. So,
wow,
and
that's so cool.
She's been doing that for like, because we used to work together, but then she left and then she worked at a couple of different jobs and then she ended up doing this. And she's been loving it. She's like been doing it for a few years now, and she's gotten to see so much and do so much. So
that's so cool.
it is pretty cool. All within the United States, but I mean, so far, I don't know if she can go internationally or not. But
what's stopping her?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that like the program that she's with. I don't know if they do international, but I'm sure that you could. But also, you'd have to be licensed. You know, like you have to have a specific practitioner license in like that can be international, I guess.
Yeah,
that might be a you might have to get additional education for that. I don't know, but yeah, I was like so interested. I was like, oh my gosh, tell me how I can do this. But then I was thinking like, realistically, could I do that? I mean, I'd have to basically pick up and like move. Basically, I'm moving, and then I'd have to. Mike couldn't do it. I mean, he doesn't work remote, so then what? I don't know. But it sounded really cool. It was like, sounds so fun.
Yeah, that is cool. I guess, yeah, if you have like a work from home job, that would be like really ideal. I think there are a few sites online too. I've looked at that have like, they're kind of like Airbnb, but they're for like extended stay. And you can actually get some like really decent rates on there if you're like, because, you know, there's people that have like vacation homes and they don't want to deal with all of the things of an Airbnb, like somebody checking in and out like every week or something.
Yeah.
So they'll like, you know, basically just be like, hey, pay my rent for this month and you can live there. And, you know,
yeah,
for a place where you'd spend like $200 a night for an Airbnb somewhere, you're now paying like $1,000 for a month, which is a pretty good deal. That's like, would only really get you like, what, 5 days at like in an Airbnb. So
right. That's true. Yeah. I know like with us, we do offer like month-long stays or whatever, and it is discounted for sure. So that's true. It can be like a good option if you do work remote. I don't know. I think it'd be fun. I would do it.
Or van life. There's a whole like section of people
my gosh.
Are van life people.
Van life people.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. I wish we could travel more together because I feel like we're similar, you know, like I feel like...
Want to have NKP on the road? We're touring. We're announcing our tour, everybody.
Yes,
we'll be in your city whenever we feel like it.
That's the solution to all of this, is we just have to get big enough that we can start a tour.
That we can become full-time podcasters, and then it's our job to tour the nation.
And then we just go around and like see everybody live.
Yeah, we go to Chicago and we go on This American Life, and then we go on to LA and we get on the Joe Rogan podcast. Then we go to New York and get on the Conan podcast. It'd be great.
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh. Oh, I love the Conan podcast. Do you listen to Conan? It's so funny.
He's really funny. I've only seen like funny clips and stuff though.
Yeah, I love that podcast. It's so funny. And I really especially love his Conan Needs a Friend episodes. Well, I mean, I guess it's all Conan Needs a Friend. Like, that's the name of the podcast. But I mean, like, the ones that are shorter, where he actually talks to and not interviews, but he just, like, chats with one of his fans.
Oh, yeah?
And, like, every other episode is him chatting with one of his fans. So one of his fans calls in, and they just talk. And and that's part of the show.
That's wild. How do you, like, what if you get just a complete weirdo? I mean, I guess that's what they're after.
Well, some of them are kind of strange, but a lot of them are just like normal people, and but they all have some unique, I'm sure that they get screened and everything. And they each have like their a unique like job or a unique aspect or something's interesting about them for sure. Like there is something different about everybody. But I get the impression just based off of listening to it so long that they actually provide them with like instructions on like how the interview is going to go. And they always say, make sure that you have a question for Conan at the end. Conan is briefed on some things about them because he'll say, oh, I have on my notes here that you do this or whatever, so like they get screened. I'm sure they get screened or whatever, but
somebody could always be normal through a screening and then just be a psychopath on the...
That's true. That's true.
I wonder if they've ever had to just cut somebody completely.
I don't know. But actually, I think Conan is in the dark about who they are, but I think like the other two, there's 2 other co-hosts that he has.
Yeah.
And I think they are like, they know more because they kind of get the conversation going or whatever. But anyway, the conversations are so good, and some of them are hilarious. Some of them are kind of duds, but most of them are good and hilarious. So, and I don't know, like there's so many. I have not listened to one of his podcasts and not laughed. Like he's just so funny. So
that's great.
It's a good recommendation. After you listen to us, after we finish this podcast, you can go over there, check that out.
Check out Conan.
And especially check it out when we're on it, because we will be hosted one day.
Yeah. Don't like retroactively, like once we do that episode, we'll link that in our show notes here, so you can just follow that link. And if it's not there yet, that means you haven't listened enough. You haven't engaged enough. Remember the call to action?
Friends.
Have you filled that out yet? God, get me on Conan, people.
We need more friends.
Well, remember, folks, whenever something bad happens, this too shall pass.
Exactly.
Just like this podcast. We're about time.
Over, guys.
It's about done. It was nice talking to y'all.
Sigh of relief.
Finally.
Yeah.
I can take off my back brace.
You could stop pretending to be hurt. You could finally sit up and just be normal. Start playing your game.
Yeah, I'm laying down for effect, just in case anybody can tell. They're like, oh, I don't know. His voice sounds a little different. It sounds like he's laying down.
Sounds like he's sitting up. No, he's a liar. It's like that Twitch guy.
Twitch liar?
The Twitch liar that got caught out because he was like in a wheelchair.
Oh, no.
And then he was streaming and like he thought he turned the stream off and then he stood up.
Oh my God. I feel like that's a troll. I feel like that guy, I don't know if you'd tank his whole career for a joke, but I think it'd be pretty funny.
No, it was bad. Like it was really bad. Like he had to like go through a lot. Yeah, and then finally he like basically what he did was he said that like he was disabled, but then he'd been going to PT and like he didn't tell his viewers this, and like he did start to get better, and then he did start to take steps and walk, and like so he could stand, but he really was still hurt
because it is like personal information, but at the same time it's like, but then it's like you're pretending to be crippled.
Using it, he was definitely using it as
for your advantage. Yeah.
But anyways, I think that whole like drama is over with, and he's welcomed back to the community. But
interesting. I feel like a similar one that gets recommended a lot. I actually like a lot of her videos. Is Sweet Anita. If you've ever seen her, she's a Twitch person who's largely famous in part due to her Tourette syndrome that she has.
Oh, and yeah.
It's fascinating, and she has like a lot of cool content and stuff, and I think she's just an interesting person overall. But I always wonder, I don't know, like, you can't ever tell. I wouldn't, like, obviously, like...
Call her out.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like every now and then, I just, like, think to myself, like, she could totally be faking all of this. Like, you could totally, like, put on a persona of this.
Sure.
But, you know.
But then, like, where does that line go where it's like, you're a performer, so you are putting, like, everybody puts on a little bit of an act when they're, I don't know.
Yeah, but obviously there's like a line there, right? There's an ethical line where you cross
exactly.
if you're like, I'm pretending to have a disability in order to get like special treatment.
Yeah. I mean, as long as if she were, like, she would probably have to, like, disclose, this is just an act. This is just a performance.
Yeah. Which
at some point, like, I don't know.
Definitely not the case, but I think she really has it at this point. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. At some point, like, if she did ever come out, or like if somebody like caught her or something, how would you even ever catch someone like that? Because it's like, you know, you can't ever see them not having Tourette's and be like, you're not having Tourette's right now.
True.
So it's kind of the perfect cover, right? But
just
if
like
it was
us.
if it was ever like, their doctor came out and was like, they're not diagnosed with that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like some part of me would be like, I knew it.
Say like, just like us, we're not really siblings. No, wait, we are.
I would hate that though. If I like, got well known for a disability and then somebody's like, bullshit. Like, cut it out. Like, drop the act. I'm like, what?
Like right now on your back, you're like, stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
We know.
That is an act.
Our sympathy. Gosh. Well,
it's good talking to y'all. I feel
always.
like you, me, and the audience are all in one big conversation.
I think so.
They need to go. They need to go fill out the survey though. They really
fill out the survey. Actually, I'll try to remember to put up some polls and stuff for each episode. If it triggers and says like. If it tells me, if it prompts me, then I definitely will.
If they'll do the work for me, I'll do it.
What should the poll be for this episode? We've talked about
you already said that. You said your favorite holiday snack.
Oh yeah, favorite holiday snack
or treats or whatever. Yeah, mine's Cowboy Caviar from Trader Joe's.
Really?
No.
Is it?
Lorvin literally, my wife just brought it home a second ago. So
is it any good?
It's it's like a salsa for chips.
Oh.
It's fine.
Because I'm all for learning about new Trader Joe's.
I mean, it's good. You should try it, but it's definitely not a holiday treat. And at the end of the day, it's just salsa. It's like a corn salsa. It's pretty good.
Okay. It just got knocked down on my things to get list.
Yeah, you're like, that was a very glowing recommendation. No. You didn't sell it.
You're not like those influencers who are like, try this, it's delicious. Like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. Okay, well, anyways, go to Trader Joe's, leave us a poll, get some holiday snacks. I don't know when this is going to be up, but if you've already had Christmas, Merry Christmas, or past Merry Christmas, I hope you had a good Christmas. And we're not kidding.
Anymore. Now we're getting serious.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love you, that's why I say cheerio, not goodbye. Remember our old tune, be back soon.
Should we name the next one like Not So Serious Podcast? And then be really serious?
We should totally do that. Talk only about like the most like dark, depressing things.
We have a very grim episode for you.
Grim.
It's always very interesting. Like, I was watching Hank Green recently. He did for October. He did spooky science, and it was actually like really dark things about like scientific experiments and stuff. Like, for example, like when people were first like experimenting with radioactive materials, like accidentally dosing themselves with lethal radiation or like stuff like that. That's fascinating. But it's like really sad and grim, and it's kind of funny coming from like a vlog brother who's usually all chipper and fun YouTuber personality energy.
Oh yeah, that's always weird when they go off grid.
Yeah, and there's another guy, Brian David Gilbert, that has like a lot of quirky, weird content, and he like still does. But I feel like recently he's kind of taken a shift, and I think he's just taken an interest in like horror in a way that like some of his skits and stuff have taken on horror elements. He has one in particular that's about jorts. That's just like a funny segment about like the kinds of people who wear jorts, aka jean shorts. But by the end, it turns into like a thriller. It's pretty bizarre. And so it's just weird to see people like take a genre shift like that.
Yeah, that's weird.